Hello and welcome to the Royal League season, the two-player tournament in the style of the Intermezzo International Championship. I'm playing in the second highest division this season in the Kings League, and today I'm not alone. I'm joined by my opponent and also the winner of the current international championship, DANeo. Welcome, DANeo.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here. In the recent months, it was happening more and more that I had some guests on here, and I think it's about time that you are also one of those guests. So I'm very happy that we could make it and discuss this game together today.
Yeah, I'm also very happy.
All right. We said that we will do it a little bit different this time compared to the other videos with guests. I will talk about Daniel's turns, but I will ask him questions about his turns, and then we will maybe get into a little bit of a discussion or just I will ask him on his opinion, and if Daniel has any questions or things to note on my turns, then he of course can always hop in. All right, and first of all, we can maybe take a quick look at leaders and wonders. How is it for you at the start of a game? Do you immediately take a look at those, or do you just look at those when it actually matters for a decision that you have to do in game?
I do take a look. Maybe not as closely as you do in your videos. I do look for some things. I do look out for the Swiss Canal because it changes the start of the game a lot, I think. Changes the value of the Colossus. I look out for Marlene Dietrich because it changes the value of dramas a lot. And yeah, Hollywood Internet Shakespeare in two-player. I look, is there Shakespeare, is there Bach, is there both? Something like that. And for example, for H1 leaders or wonders, I rarely take notice of that because I don't think it changes the way you start the game a lot. Yeah, only if I have a decision like, do I take a leader that wants to replace soon, like Hippocrates, for example, then I look, okay, how many good H1 leaders are that you want to play longer? Something like that.
Yeah, I actually do it very similar. I also, when I play the game, don't look at the leaders and wonders that extensively as I do in my videos. So I also
Yeah.
just take a quick look and try to notice maybe some key things and then just come back to the leaders and wonders overview when it actually matters on a decision. And here I think we can see that we have Bach and Gaudi, but no Shakespeare. So there are some culture leaders, but one of the very big ones is missing. There is Hollywood, there is Internet, Chaplin in H3, Pierre in Internet is there, Sid Meier in Internet is there. Steve Jobs and Einstein is some Molaire believers. Ocean Liner is a very strong wonder in H2. Actually, very few military action leaders, only Catherine in the whole leaders from all ages, and yeah, no Suez Canal in this game, and also no Acropolis in HA, which of course is also interesting to look at in a two-player game. Is there something else that you notice here, or?
I think you said it all, honestly.
All right.
Yeah, there's no Marlene Dietrich. That's actually always an important information, in my opinion.
No, definitely is. She can have quite some strong potential. All right, then we can maybe start with taking a look at the game, and you are playing in first position, and maybe already a bit of an interesting decision for you at the first turn. There is maybe one of the strongest leaders, Hammurabi, available, but also that engineering genius. So, what were your thoughts on that decision?
Yeah, my first thought was easy, I take Hammurabi. And then I looked a little closer and I wasn't certain. And I'm still not certain. In the end, I took the engineering genius because I think there's other leaders I can take. There's Hippocrates, which is solid. And there's also Confucius in the deck, which might still drop. And
Yeah.
even Cleopatra is not bad with the Rome roads, but if yeah, Confucius doesn't drop, I would go for Hippocrates probably. But I'm still not certain if that's the correct call because Hammurabi might just be stronger than all of that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I might agree with your engineering genius take, but it's definitely a close call. And I, at the end, probably am relatively happy about what I get anyway. If you take Hammurabi, I can take engineering genius and maybe urban growth, so 3 additional resources if I want to use both the resources, and can still get a very nice leader like Boudica at the next turn, or also Clio, potentially maybe Confucius. So I think for me there's something relatively strong available anyway, and now I will get Hammurabi, but you at least have the engineering genius. And when I take Hammurabi, which will certainly happen, at least Rome roads drop to 1, and then with the engineering genius you can finish that wonder very quickly, which I think should then also be a very fine start for you.
Yeah, we're on the same page then,
All right.
more or less.
Then
Yeah.
off to my turn, which I think is relatively straightforward. I definitely take Hammurabi, and then of course I have to think a little bit about if I want to have frugality or urban growth. But I think the urban growth I just maybe like a little bit more, and especially the Stonehenge is maybe a wonder that I will end up getting at the end. And if I start with building a mine, then the urban growth might allow me to build a lab and the first step of the Stonehenge at the third turn, maybe allowing myself to spend my civil actions more effectively. So at the end, it was a relatively clear pick here for me.
Yeah. No complaints from my side.
Yeah. With taking Hammurabi, Rome roads indeed a drop to 1 civil action for you, and I think there are definitely quite some possible lines. Cleopatra, and maybe start building a lab could be an option. Hippocrates just as a solid leader, and taking Rome roads. You actually went with a very interesting line here. You don't take any leader at all this turn, probably with the plan of waiting for Confucius at the next turn. So what were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think Confucius is the second best leader, especially in one-on-one. And I was willing to wait for him. I lose only 1 science compared to what if I had him in my hand already. So like this, I can already start the run roads. I can't take and elect Confucius and finish it, but then it will be ready in 2 turns, regardless of the developments. Yeah, I guess it's a close call. Maybe I also thought there's not the best H1 leaders. Maybe that played a role also. So if I took Hippocrates, there are not that many leaders I really want to play early on. I think if I would see a Saladin here and maybe a Gutenberg and I don't know, some other potential leaders that you want to really play early on, then I might have settled with Hippocrates. And yeah, Cleopatra's maybe an option, but I think she's quite a bit weaker than the Confucius science.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit unclear how much value you get out of her. You don't want to build the Rome roads very slowly, and then it depends on the H1 leader, H1 wonder that you get and when you get it. Yeah. So I think that's why wait for Confucius.
Yeah, I think those are some fair points, and also in the situation, I think normally one of the weaknesses of delaying the HA leader by that much is that you then most of the times have to spend some civil actions on taking some HA yellows, but in that case you can spend your civil actions effectively regardless, and with that I think it's probably fine to just wait for Confucius at the next turn. And I think the reasoning with there maybe not really being leaders that you want to get early from H1 or that are very strong early on, with that I think Confucius should be a fair choice. Then my turn is also, I think, quite clear again. I will go for Hammurabi. I guess I could think about building the second lab, but the thing is I will go for the Stonehenge this turn, and then I think I just want to have the resources early, especially because if I now build a second lab first, I lose the option of potentially building a second lab and the first step of the Stonehenge at the next turn. I then take the Stonehenge, and I have one civil action thanks to Hammurabi left that I can use to take one of those HA allos, and that I use to take the rich land, because with the additional science from the Stonehenge I thought that hopefully I should without any problems be able to go for irrigation or iron at some point, and if I take the urban growth the alchemy drops down to 1 civil action for you, and with that was also a relatively clear choice, and again, I think a relatively straightforward turn. I don't think I want to go for any other wonders than Stonehenge here. I think Stonehenge Hammurabi is quite a powerful combination, and so I was quite fine about that pick and that start.
Yeah. Also, not the biggest complaints from my side. I'm not the biggest fan of Stonehenge, so
Okay.
maybe I would consider skipping it. But I think, in all honesty, that's the best turn.
Yeah.
Taking Stonehenge here is the best turn. You don't really have an alternative turn, so
No. I
I
mean,
mean,
if
you won't take Alchemy for 3 or something. It's just not. No.
no, if there would be maybe Silk Road and Universitas in H1, maybe I would
Yeah.
consider skipping it, but like this, I think I go for the Stonehenge, and I think I might value the Stonehenge then a bit more highly, even though in two-player games with only one copy of Monarchy and one copy of Code of Laws, maybe sometimes the chance is a bit higher that the science can actually be not used very efficiently. Then we are at your turn. You seed an event into the deck. The development of religion is revealed, which we are both able to take. And then this turn you will go for Confucius, elect him. You still have to get out of corruption, which is only possible with increasing your population. And then the last civil action is then there you have to make a decision maybe about building a step of the Rome road, so building the second lab. You went with the lab here, which looks very natural to me. Do you have anything to add to this turn, or is it maybe now from your side finally a very straightforward one?
It was a very straightforward one, in my opinion. The only thing is, if there was a Shakespeare in the game, I would probably not build this lab
Hmm.
and make this printing press contested. Then you would have to consider spending 2 civil actions for it, which you would probably maybe do. I don't know. Yeah, but I would not build that lab. I would wait. What happens to that printing press?
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. I think Shakespeare definitely changes a lot how much those printing presses are worth it. But without him, I think just getting the lab build should be best.
Yeah.
Then at my turn, I can also take the free religion. With taking the free religion, in order to get out of corruption, I also have to increase or actually, I was already out of corruption, but in order to maybe spend some actions, I have to I have to increase my population. And here I had a bit of a decision to make because I will decide to go for that alchemy, just to have the option to upgrade my economy a bit more. There's also Leonardo in the game who works very well with the alchemies. There's of course a copy of printing press, and printing presses in two-player games can still be quite strong also without leader support, but it's available for 2 civil actions, the alchemy for 1. So I liked going for the alchemy a bit more here. And I would have the chance here to plan on building an alchemy even directly at the next turn, because I could at the next turn I could now save up some resources, maybe build a step of the Stonehenge already, and then thanks to the urban growth I still would have just enough resources and science thanks to having built a step of the Stonehenge to build an alchemy directly. However, here I decide on building the lab already now, and then I still take the alchemy and the breakthrough in hand. The breakthrough I don't want to give you for 1 civil action. I think that's just a powerful card, and even though I have the Stonehenge and maybe will now go for the alchemy, I think even more science is most of the times good anyway. And the reason why I now already this turn built the second lab is that first of all I have Hammurabi. Of course I have a 4-step wonder, I have to be careful, but with Hammurabi maybe the trade of 1 science for 1 civil action is still somewhat fine, because now I'm for example also willing to take the breakthrough for 2 civil actions, which also results in 1 science per civil action, even though of course for the breakthrough there's also a little bit hate drafting part of the reasoning. And also, if I don't build a lab this turn and with the plan of building alchemy directly, it's maybe a bit of a commitment. If I then decide to change plans and don't build a lab in alchemy at the next turn, then maybe I just have wasted a bit of science. On the other hand, I would still have a free population if I just build a step instead of the lab. So maybe I could have also just gone for building the lab directly. I think it's a close call, and maybe saving the civil action could still be worth it enough. I don't know, what is your take on that?
Oh, there was so much information, so many options. First of all, I agree with the turn. I would do the same. I think. I think I can't recall every single option you just said,
Yeah.
but one thing I see is that this turn also the breakthrough for two. I mean, that's the power of Hammurabi, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can do this turn without any problems. You can't do that turn, the breakthrough for two, without Hammurabi. And it also controls the irrigation to the sixth card, which is a little annoying for me because I think irrigation is not that unimportant in a one-on-one.
Definitely, yes.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, a good point. That was also part of my decision making. I really wanted to make sure that this first copy of irrigation lands on the sixth spot, so that you either take one now or you for two civil actions, or you will miss out on irrigation completely. So I was very happy to see that both of those copies landed on those spots. And if they were one spot behind, I probably would have just taken reserves and again made sure, or maybe Barbarossa even, just one more card to make sure that those are at the spot. So. That's good news for me. At the end of my turn, I draw my first event, the Call to Arms. At your turn, you seed an event into the deck again, and the event revealed is the development of politics, some additional draws for both of us, and this turn you just finished the Roman roads, leaving you with one last civil action, which you used to take the warfare. I think the last civil action is maybe the most interesting part about this turn. And what was the warfare a clear pick for you, or had you some other considerations here?
Yeah, Barbarossa is definitely always a consideration. Um, so I can't really recall. I think it's a close call. I think the warfare has the advantage of setting up a republic,
Hmm.
and playing a republic is, in my opinion, one of the best things you can do, especially in a two-player game. And I don't see any tactic in my hand. I don't see strength potential, so I don't want to go for Barbarossa. I think it's also maybe a little gambly to play Barbarossa in two-player because you don't really know how much value it gives you. I don't know. Like many of my decisions, a gut feeling decision for the warfare.
Yeah, but I think it feels right, and I think you are right about Barbarossa. I think in 3 and 4 player games, you often can just take him in hand. You know you will be able to, or you need some military units anyway. In 2 player games, I think you need to have a bit more of a clear plan on what actually to do with him, and if you really want to build some military. So just taking Barbarossa in hand as a solid leader, I think, is not that easily possible in 2 player games as it is maybe in the higher player counts.
Yeah,
And now I think taking irrigation for two here and skipping the Rome roads finish is also not really a possibility that I
it's
think.
impossible. It's impossible.
No,
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 that's not happening.
no, I definitely agree on that. But I, at my turn, will then of course make sure to deny you this irrigation.
You could
Um,
take the other one. Did you consider it?
No, that was definitely an
It's so
instant
mean.
pick. I don't want to share any advanced food creating technique with you, and so I take the right copy of irrigation. And now I have some different options on how I want to start my economical upgrades. I could just go with maybe an alchemy upgrade. I could start building on the on the Stonehenge. But here I actually decided on starting with the irrigation, being able to use the Ridgeland A immediately. And also I went into consumption relatively early, so making now up for that with going for food production first, I think is fine. And also the reasoning for neither going for Stonehenge or the alchemy had also to do with the masonry that was coming down the row, because I was hoping that maybe taking it for two civil actions could end up being too expensive for you, which might allow myself to take it at my next turn, and then I get the most value out of that if I haven't built any steps on the Stonehenge and haven't gone for any alchemy upgrades yet. So that was one big reason also why I started with the food production here. And then I have still two civil actions left. And if there would be no masonry, I could maybe just build 2 steps of the Stonehenge. But again, with the masonry, I decided to use those civil actions to take a card. And I just took the urban growth, which I soon will be able to use in the alchemy. And another good side effect on the urban growth is that it actually guarantees me the masonry for 1 civil action at the next turn if you don't take it, because I thought that at your turn you actually could go for the Forbidden City, and it might end up, I might end up playing a turn where you don't take any cards apart from the Forbidden City on the row, from the row, letting the masonry stay on 2, and so the urban growth for 2 maybe a bit expensive, but it might actually give me the masonry for 1, which I think is a very good thing. I could of course also take cartography and knights, but I don't have a tactic for knights yet, and don't plan on going for any colonies, so the urban growth just seemed like the most solid pick to me.
Yeah, I again completely agree. This turn,
Yeah.
no complaints by me. It's again the power of Hammurabi. I think, if I remember a bit about, it's already been a few weeks we played this. If I remember, some of the feelings I had in this game is that I a bit at this position thought it was a mistake not taking Hammurabi, because somehow you control the game and the row more than I would like to.
Yeah, I think.
And I don't know if that extra rock that I got.
Are you still there? At the moment, I'm not hearing you.
Yeah.
All right, I think we had a short connection issue, but we are back again, and we can hop now to your turn. And now I was interested to see whether you indeed will go for the Forbidden City. There's also the first copy of Iron dropping on the row. You see an event, the development of markets is revealed. You take the additional resources from it, and after increasing your population, you actually do the interesting choice here of building a third farm, which allows you to increase your population at the next turn and make sure to get out of corruption. And then with the last 2 civil actions, you indeed go for the Forbidden City, leaving Iron on 2, and you have actually just enough resources, thanks to also taking resources from markets, to finish the Forbidden City at the next turn. To me it looked like Forbidden City might just be quite good for you here. Also, I think I wonder that I like quite a bit, because having lots of civil actions often results in good positions later on. Did you had any alternative lines that you really considered, or was it also a relatively clear call for you?
No, that's not such a clear call, I think. I definitely see the value of the masonry and the iron.
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe that leaving the iron on 2 at least makes your decision a bit awkward, whether you want to take the iron already and the masonry. You probably won't take it, so I will get it for 1. I thought you have other things to do. You have a lot of civil actions to spend for the wonder, so I will probably get it for 1. And taking the masonry for 2 here would mean corruption, first of all, I think. Yeah, I had to get out of corruption also if I want to take the wonder. So I think I always take the wonder over the masonry, because, as you said, I will have 8 rocks and can finish it, and that will probably be the turn. So yeah.
No.
Then the last civil action, the third agriculture, I like to do it occasionally, especially the irrigation is gone. I think
Yeah.
it's something you can do a lot of the times, actually, to go
Yeah.
for the third
Yeah.
agriculture.
I think that's true. It's maybe not something that you need to do, but if there are
Yeah.
nothing else that seems right, then just build a third farm, and it still will provide some value over time. So I think I agree about that. And you're right, of course, masonry, iron are technologies that needs to be considered. But I think you have some hopes, if you don't touch the row here, that at least one of those techs will be available for 1 civil action for you at the next turn.
Yeah.
And if not, then at least I needed to make some expensive investments. All right, and now I have those decisions to face, but first of all, I made a call to put an event into the deck, because I have one that works hopefully quite well for me, the immigration. one time, I think already is a while ago, quite a while, when we played a game against each other, you after the game or at some point wrote in the chat that you like it quite a lot in a two-player game, or maybe also generally, to have at least one event in the deck to not to leave a bit uncertainty for the opponent. So and I agree about that. If that is still your take, I mean, opinions on through the ages related things, I feel are changing also over time. But I think leaving a bit of uncertainty is just quite strong. And I also have the immigration, which as soon as I finish the Stonehenge, and with you hopefully not getting more happy faces with having Forbidden City, should end up being a very helpful event for me. And so I put that one into the deck.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't remember that I wrote it, but I agree with myself. It's I think having complete information makes the game a lot easier.
That's true.
That's why also Nostradamus is so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So here I have the Masonry in 1, the Iron on 2, and I could take both of those cards, but then I have only 2 civil actions left. I could still, I guess I get the additional food and or resource from the development of markets. I choose to take the resources here, and then I could, for example, increase my population and go for a farm upgrade. But I felt like it's not really necessary to take the Iron for 2 here. It could end up being a strong pick for you. You could even just go for 2 upgrades at your next turn if you want to before finishing the Forbidden City. But I thought that just finishing the Forbidden City is also just a very solid alternative turn for you. And then you can pick up the second copy of Iron later on. And if I don't take the Iron here, then hopefully I will be able to take the second copy of Iron later on. And I still have the Stonehenge to finish. With the Masonry, I can go cheaply for those alchemies. So I felt like it's not really necessary to take the Iron for 2. Even though I thought maybe it could be a strong option for you to just go for 2 upgrades and get some very quick production. But finishing Forbidden City, I think, should also be fine. So I take the Masonry. I will develop the Masonry, and because of needing to spend some resource to get out of corruption, it's not that easily possible to go for alchemy. I could develop the alchemy, go for an upgrade without the urban growth, increase my population. I think that could be a fine turn, just increasing the science production first. But at the end, I decided to just finish the Stonehenge and actually take another copy of Richland, which will help me to get into my mine upgrades quicker later on, or just get another food upgrade going quickly. And another advantage of that is that I actually have now an additional happy phase, meaning that if the immigration is revealed before my next turn, I make it so that you don't get an additional population, and that also could definitely matter quite a bit. So I just finished the Stonehenge here, and maybe I can then start going for alchemy upgrades at the next turn.
Yeah.
Then
sounds very reasonable.
Yeah. I draw the Rebellion, so potentially another happy face related event. And at your turn, I think it's indeed, I don't know what your opinion is, but for me it feels like it's indeed maybe the question of whether going for 2 iron upgrades or finishing the Forbidden City is best. First of all, you seed something, and I was happy after seeing the immigration that I indeed finished the Stonehenge, because now I am the only one getting an additional population out of that. And yeah, what were your thoughts on those 2 options, or was it even a debate, or was it maybe clear for you which one is better?
Absolutely unclear. I don't know still, so I went for this one.
Yeah.
I cannot really tell you why I decided. I remember this turn being a little complicated for me for other reasons. I seeded a strength event into the deck, and I had to consider if I want to get stronger or not. But I didn't find a natural turn to get stronger, which doesn't somehow telegraph that there's a strength event.
Yeah.
So that was the bigger decision to not go a turn for a turn that gets me stronger. And then there's yeah, the 2 iron upgrades or the Forbidden City. Close call, I guess. I do like much the
I think there might be a
City.
yeah, now you're back. There was a short connection issue. Maybe I think
That's
you
sad.
said something about what you like about the Forbidden City.
Yeah, that I just want to be done with the wonder. It will give me a civil action. It might give me
Yeah,
that engineering genius.
yeah.
Maybe the Taj Mahal is even an option still. Yeah, it's a very close call. I'm not certain if I upgrading 2 iron is better. I think if I upgrade 2 iron, I can't finish the wonder next turn, right?
Um, yeah,
Not really.
that's I think no, actually, I think you have just enough resources. You then have
I
two
would.
less spent, so 2 + 6 should be 8. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. What do
then
you think? I don't know.
it's I also don't have any strong feelings towards either side on this one. My maybe my gut feeling would tell me to go for the iron, but now that you are saying that you also have a strength event in there, then of course I think finishing the Forbidden City maybe leaves you a bit more flexible playing around that strength event. When you go for the iron now, I guess you could still also just build a unit, but then you delay the Forbidden City even further, maybe even into H2. So I think it's a fair call, but I don't have any strong feelings. Probably, or I would just go by a gut feeling. Maybe there
Yeah.
are not that many. I mean, there are some solid H2 wonders, especially the Ocean Liner, but maybe it would not be that clear how easily you can even spend the earlier resources. So it feels fine to me to just go for Forbidden City first.
Yeah. But one thing I can tell, I would never plan to build a unit to win the strength event. The warfare is the plan.
Oh,
So I
okay, yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
fit it into this
yeah.
turn.
That's
I
of
want to,
course it makes sense. Yes.
yeah, I want to win that with the warfare. And if I think if you start building knights to win that, then I'm also fine with that.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and I think it's the right call by you not doing anything awkward just to prepare for this one strength event. Because first of all, I'm Hammurabi. Who knows if I even have something to seed, and
Yeah,
even if I see it, it's a chance that it might not be revealed. And also, you are not telling me anything about such an event being in there. For me, it more looked like there's probably no strength event coming. And
yeah,
maybe I wouldn't have seeded if I would have not drawn with that one draw that I had, the Rebellion, because my other options were only uncertain borders and inhabited territory. With the colony I wanted to keep for Columbus, and the strength event I was not confident putting into the decks. So, but now with the Rebellion and with me being the strongest, I thought let's just go for seeding that event. And for you, sadly, you're a bit unlucky here. The strength event is indeed on top, and yeah, so far the events have worked out quite well for me. Immigration giving me a population, Reign of Terror costing you a population. So after those two events, I thought, oh, that could already be a bit of a heavy swing, basically a two population swing. And yeah, I thought that could give me an advantage potentially.
yeah. I thought the same. I wasn't very happy.
I believe that. um, then I
Do you agree with my gamble?
Yes, I agree with it. I mean, if you would have more strength events in there, then it's a different story, but if it's only the
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
I agree on the gamble.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, then,
You also mentioned one of my reasons was you are Hammurabi. You need to that you want that you even want to play when I seeded that.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, you had them. I mean, there was a development of politics, so
that's
let's be
true.
fair about that. You
Yeah.
did draw some more cards than just the Hammurabi cards, but yeah.
All right, then at my turn, there is the iron on the row, but now that you have taken the other copy, if I don't take any cards in front of it, I can also just get it for civil action cheaper at the next turn, and I can spend my civil actions somewhat effectively this turn. I will start going for alchemy upgrades. I can do 2 upgrades, going up to 4 science production, being nicely prepared for Leonardo, maybe forcing you into a line where you take him for 2 civil actions, which is maybe not ideal for you. And then I have still 2 civil actions left. One I need to spend to get out of corruption, and I increase my population and take another rich land. I could have also gone for another farm upgrade, but for now I have enough population, and I thought that if I delay the farm upgrade and keep the rich land, the first one in hand, I can now, with having those 2 rich lands, even just go for 3 iron upgrades at the next turn if I want to. And with that, that just felt like a very strong option for me. I was very interested to see if you now make the decision of going for one of those leaders or if you wait potentially for Columbus. I was fine with either outcome because Leonardo would be strong for me, but if you take him, I have inhabited territory for Columbus available. So yeah, again, I was quite happy about the general developments. I don't take knights here. That's of course something to mention, but I still don't have a tactic. And at the moment, especially now with you losing a population with the Reign of Terror, your position doesn't look like it's very threatening. And so I felt like I don't need to be concerned about those knights, as the next few turns might not be I might not need any military anyway. So I just rather wanted to secure the iron for civil action cheaper at the next turn.
Yeah, I think not taking knights is always the best choice in a two-player game.
Yeah, I know that
I
you.
mean, like almost always, like almost always.
Yeah, I know that you're not the biggest fan of those, and I think in a two-player game it's definitely a fair point, and especially if I don't have a tactic. But maybe even if I have a tactic, I should just skip them here and make sure that my economy gets running quicker and just get cavalrymen if I need some military. Then
Yeah,
it's
I think that's yeah. Sorry.
no, you can continue.
Yeah, I think that's something many people overlook when they start building knights. Let's say you win one plunder, HA, H1 plunder, thanks to the knights, then you could have also upgraded iron and had those resources like that. And when you play a plunder in the start of H2, you don't draw H2 cards. And yeah, setting up to be aggressive, especially in two-player, it even makes no economical sense if you will win one or two aggressions.
No, no.
In a lot of scenarios, at least.
Yeah, sometimes the ongoing pressure will maybe add in some values
Yeah.
that are maybe hard to calculate, but yeah, it's definitely true that you have to really make sure or think about if such an investment is really worth it or not.
Yeah. You can have some all-ins, some good all-ins, like you go for Chishka and go for 16 strength or something, and have the 3 or even 4 military actions to really draw cards while you win aggressions. Then you win the game, obviously. Yeah, but sometimes I see knights being built that are just standing around.
Yeah, no. No, that's definitely a good point, and especially in two-player games, something to have in mind. Um,
Yeah.
Then we are at your turn, and for probably the last time, you will seed an event with Confucius into the deck, and also Confucius event is revealed. And here you have to make a choice about the leaders, and if you want to commit to one already. What were your feelings about going for Leonardo? I think he could still end up being fine for you, but I also feel like it doesn't feel that ideal for you. But maybe the alternatives are also not the greatest. What were your feelings about the leader choice here?
If I had to guess, I think it's the best of the leaders for both of us combined in the pool.
Yeah,
Because you had Hammurabi, and the chances are you already seeded some events also. Chances are you don't have a colony in hand.
yeah,
I don't have the best colony in hand. I have a developed territory, but it's maybe not enough reason to commit to a Columbus. And
yeah,
if you view the sum of these two, then it's the best leader. And I would probably still get the alchemy there. You already have one in hand. Yes, I could plan for the alchemy. I could also maybe even go for the second printing press. I should. No, they are both out. Yeah. I could go for the alchemy. I could maybe get an early scientific method. Yeah. So yeah, between those leaders, Leonardo is the best, and it is such a smooth transition for you. I think if I just leave him there
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree on that. Still, maybe a bit awkward now taking for 2 while not having alchemy, but you
Yeah.
can, as you said, will be able to get it going. I definitely agree. It's the choice that you have to make here. And but after taking him, you have still 3 civil actions left, which you will use to get 1 iron upgrade going, increase your population, and you will then rebuild the warrior. Yeah, I guess having 1 unit is just most of the times good to potentially be able to win a colony, or did you consider not rebuilding that for now and maybe having more resources around for the next turns?
probably considered it. It's a little awkward if you just put a colony in there and get it for free.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe that plays a part.
Certainly, and
Your
also
event, I
now
mean,
you can build it and um, only miss out on an H1 draw. That's of course also a point that if you delay it now, you maybe
yeah,
will
yeah,
miss
yeah.
out
I
on
will
an
have to
H2
build
draw.
a, I will have to build a unit at some point, and then that's better now than later. I also have a colony in hand, as I said, the developed
Yeah,
territory, so I might want to even seed that. I also have a defense card,
yeah,
so I might be in a good spot to compete for that. So yeah, it's a bit sad that I can't get the engineering genius. And in hindsight, I don't, I don't 100%. I mean, it's in like that in the most of the cases. I don't know if taking Da Vinci for 2 is the best turn here, but I think it's, yeah, as you also said, relatable.
yeah, yeah. And the engineering genius could of course be quite strong, and for me maybe as well, but I have a very strong turn with just going for 3 iron upgrades, so I might not take it. And for you, it maybe depends on if the ocean liner service is available quickly. Otherwise, there could also be the chance that you might not be able to use it that easily, even though a wonder like Eiffel Tower, I think, can also be quite fine in a two-player game. Um, all right, then we are at my turn, my last turn in H1, and I will go for the iron. There's a copy of Code of Laws in the row. We both have a lot of science, and I think those Code of Laws, you have to really consider them, especially in such a situation with both players having that much science. But it's now late in H1, and I just have such a clean turn, and I can easily let the Code of Laws stay in 3 for you, and then you might not end up taking it. So I feel like I just almost always consider it in a two-player game, because being locked down on low civil actions is just a real threat. But here I think it's just too costly, and there's a good chance that maybe I can still take it at the next turn. Are you also feeling the same
Completely
about the
agreed.
Code of Laws in general in two-player games, or are you not that much focused on it?
No, no, totally. It's one of the most important cards, especially if it drops early. Then it's actually in a lot of games a pick for 3.
No,
And here, as you said, age is almost over, and you had a perfect turn, and especially you can leave it on 3. Then
no,
it's yeah, that's a huge argument. I will probably not take it for 3. I think.
no, no. So no,
I think I don't know actually. So,
we will see at your next turn.
we will see. Yeah.
No, for my turn, the 3 iron upgrades are extremely clean. I will now lose Hammurabi, but I can get Columbus at the next turn for 1 civil action, so I felt quite fine about that. And I also have just enough science to get into an H2 government form if I get lucky and an early one drops down. So I again was feeling quite happy about the turn. Then we are at your turn, so let's see if you will end up taking that Code of Laws. I will lose Hammurabi. You will seed an event into the deck. The event revealed is the cultural influence. And here you have to take the alchemy, and already with that it gets a bit tricky taking the Code of Laws, especially if you want to develop it. You have some corruption issues. There's also the monarchy. There might be an H2 government form soon. So I guess it's just too expensive here, and you have already 5 civil actions. So you take the
Hmm.
alchemy. You get some big science production going with going for 1 alchemy upgrade. You then go for an iron upgrade, which to me seems
Hmm.
like a fair call. With having that much science production, the resources are probably needed earlier, and you take the breakthrough, which maybe is not even that much needed anyway. On the other hand, having lots of science is still quite nice. Did you think about the frugality instead of the breakthrough here, or maybe just developing warfare? Or increasing pop? I think there
I
are some
guess I did.
options.
um, I guess Breakthrough is just generally such a good card, yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks like I don't have the biggest food problems right now. If I remember correctly, I have knowledge of the Dark Ages.
Hmm.
Did have that in hand and didn't play it. I'm not certain about Reds though. Yeah, the Breakthrough is just a good card.
Yeah, it's a good card, and for the reds, my civilization doesn't really look like I might have seeded
Yeah,
it. So, yeah,
yeah.
I think in this situation it would also be fine to go for a different civil action, but it's still I think also totally fine to just grab that breakthrough and have even more science available, especially
Yeah.
if Leonardo, even more science might also result in even more resources, so it feels fine to me. You let the Code of Laws also stay on 2 civil actions for me.
Yeah, it
Here,
was also still H1, right? No, it was H2. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Then maybe developing the warfare. I think I didn't want to commit for the
that
warfare
is, I
because
think, a fair point, yeah.
yeah, it's as I said, more or less the Republic safer. If you get Republic but no strategy, then it's a little dicey sometimes. And I like to take the warfare in hand. And if I don't have a pressing reason to develop it, and the strength event I know is already gone, then I like to just keep it in hand and do
Yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's definitely a fair point. And at my turn, I'm again the strongest. And I mean, I already had one turn where I thought, there might be no strength event in there anyway, and then I just hit one. So I thought, well, let's try it again. But this time I put an event into the deck which could also backfire for me, the Crusades. But at this point, it's maybe a 50-50. It's totally unclear which of one of us might end up being stronger. So I just thought I'm the strongest. I have a bit of information then, and let's just put it into the deck. But this time no strength event is revealed, instead Confucius event, and I was very happy to see, because when I saw the end of your turn I thought, oh, will I take Code of Laws or Monarchy or both, or what will I do? But now the Conmon dropped, which is quite fortunate for me. I have enough science to go for it, and I can just get that going. And that means that I will need to let the Code of Laws be available for you. I could of course take it, but with having the inhabited territory and now even the chance to draw some H2 colonies, I think having Columbus is just too strong. So I took Columbus. I could elect him already, giving me the option to use him already at the next turn, but it would come at a cost of corruption, or I build 2 warriors, but that I definitely don't want to do as well. And so at the end, I decided to get out of corruption. First, I thought I will just increase my population. But at the end, I actually came to the conclusion, with me maybe getting the inhabited territory and also having already some free population lying around, I thought now it might actually be a good time to just build a 4th iron mine, get out of corruption like that, and be at 8 resource production. And with Columbus and the colony, I was hoping that I won't miss that population elsewhere, and that I just can very safely increase my resource production here. Maybe I could also think about building a 3rd farm, but there's still the ocean line in the game, and so I rather went for the additional mine. Of course, also an additional lab. I just think in general building something additional could be fine. Additional lab may be also interesting, but at the end, I think mine feels best for me. What is your feeling? What would you build, or what is your gut feeling?
Yeah, mine looks good. If you have you said you have the inhabited in hand already?
Yeah, inhabited
Yeah,
one,
then
yes.
then that's a fair argument. It's probably a close call between the alchemy and the iron, but excessive science income is somewhat redundant in 2-player games. It feels hard to value how much a lot of science income is really worth in the long run, and the iron is not that hard to value to calculate. You
Yeah,
will later see that you can build more stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And if you can afford it population-wise, which you can, then it's a nice turn. Nice.
Yeah, so also one advantage of the iron is that now I have actually exactly 10 resources for my next turn, meaning if an ocean liner service should drop early, I can just take and
Yeah.
finish it, while when I build the alchemy, I would be missing some resources, so that I think is also another important argument. Then at the end of
Yeah.
my turn, I was, of course, always with Columbus, hoping to get the jackpots, but not for now. I draw prosperity and economic progress, but no H2 colony for now. Then we are at your turn. You put an H2 event into the deck. Now your developed territory is revealed. I don't have any colonization cards in hand, so sadly I need to let you win this one for 1 warrior, which I was not too happy about. But yeah, I think it sometimes happens in 2-player games that just both players have just a single warrior, and if one of the players was brave enough to put a colony in, then sometimes strong colonies, or I mean the developed territory is not the strongest one, but some colonies are won for just a single warrior, which then I think is quite a strong deal.
Yeah, totally. I was happy to get that. I mean, your Hammurabi must have had some some repercussions, or
Yeah,
how
yeah,
do you call it? So I also felt that you were quite ahead, even the last turn, and now you even got the con on.
yeah, yeah.
This in this situation, I already am in some despair mode, I think. Getting that H2 government first turn H2 is probably one of the best things that can happen in TTA. And yeah, so the developed territory is some consolation prize.
Yeah, so I think that this is now helpful for you, even though the science, I mean, it might still end up being useful, but it's not the thing that you need the most, but still just a nice thing to win for just a single warrior. And for your turn, you go for the Code of Laws, which I think is explained by itself with having that much science lying around. Then I guess also with the first H2 government form being gone and with you having additional civil actions also from the Forbidden City, it just I think it should be the safest call to just take the monarchy here, and maybe you can then upgrade it to an H3 government form later on, but gambling on the Republic I think would just very much backfire here, so I think I agree with your choice of going for the monarchy. After developing that, you have still 2 civil actions left, and then you will probably get out of corruption, you will upgrade a mine. Again, resources might be needed earlier, will increase your population, and again build a warrior, so that turn looks somewhat straightforward for me. There's a drama, but you have some good production. I have some good production, so waiting for operas I think should be fine. And then I don't really see anything that you would need to do differently here, or do you notice anything that needs to really be considered here as an alternative?
No, I think this is clean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
As you said, I can't afford to gamble for the Republic. It's just a losing condition, and then I get my mini common for 14 science, and I can upgrade it to a common with 19 science. I have it in hand, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
All right, yeah, but at least, I mean, now you are playing again with an additional civil action compared to me. You had to invest
Yeah.
more, but that could still prove to be a bit of an advantage, even though I might also have the chance to get justice system at some point.
Yeah. And yeah, the warrior, I seeded another colony. Actually, the historic 2 was one of my draws.
Hmm.
And as you mentioned with colonies, it's always a little gambly. And I think in a position where I would say I'm ahead, I would probably not see such a swingy colony. But in a position where I think I'm probably already behind and I need some things going for me, I am willing to seed the historic 2.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point, and I think yeah, when you think you are behind, you need to set up ways how you can get lucky. That's, I think,
Yeah.
an important skill to make use of, and I think in such a situation, seeding such an H2 colony in the deck with maybe the chance that both players will stay on one warrior, and you maybe also know that, at least for now, I don't have any defense cards. I think that is a very fair point. And at my turn, there's again an interesting card that drops down the road that in 2-player games almost always needs to be considered, even for 3 civil actions, and that is Bach. And I here decided, first of all, I seeded the economic progress into the deck, the rebellion is revealed, no one of us gets hit by it, and then I make this turn the decision to actually go for Bach. Because it's just such an easy way to get a lot of culture. I have this strong resource production going. There's Hollywood, Chaplin in the game, and of course Anthony Gaudi can be a fine alternative, but I also have now Columbus, meaning it's good when I get a replacement leader quickly. I don't know when Anthony Gaudi will be available, and then Bach is just so strong that I was willing here to take him for 3. Actually, it just recently also a 2-player game against Wolves, where Bach was also available for 3, where I decided to pass on him because it feels sometimes a bit boring just taking Bach for 3. But here, maybe you could also find some different plays, but here at the end of my turn I will take him for 3. What is your take on that?
Yeah. If Shakespeare's not in the game, I think you would probably be worth 5 in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah,
It's just like that. So as you also said, we don't know when Gaudi drops. At least Gaudi is some consolation. He can somewhat compete with Bach in
yeah,
a culture fest, but yeah, not as much. Gaudi is a little more uh, complicated, or it's maybe not the right word, but he needs more stuff to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
something. And Bach just presses opera and boom, I'm at 16 culture income or something. And I have set up a Hollywood. Yeah. So
yeah.
that's a blind pick. Yes.
Yeah, so no, I think the situation is just too strong, and so I elect Columbus because with taking Bach, it could be nice to maybe elect him already the next turn, and also getting the colony earlier could be strong. Even though I thought about some different turns because I'm now struggling just a little bit to get out of corruption, but I think I found a relatively nice solution with building an additional farm here, which also works well with the economic progress that I've just seeded, and just I think no, I mean, I've now an additional farm, an additional mine. Sometimes that can be problematic, but economic progress is coming, and I might get inhabited territory 1 if I don't draw something better. So I have additional population available, and I will, of course, also get
Yeah.
new population with the farm, and then I have a clean way to get out of corruption with building that farm, increasing my population, and I can take Bach. Next turn, maybe using Columbus, electing Bach. I was a bit worried about Rifleman and strategy coming down the row. I thought if you now get both of those cards, maybe you can go for some military pressure, but it's just always tricky in a two-player game committing on something like that. I mean, you don't really necessarily need to go for big commitment yet, but at the moment you don't have that many free population that you can easily build a lot of strength. But I was a bit worried about that giving you both of those cards could help you maybe setting up a bit of a military counterplay, but nonetheless I was willing to just take Bach here. And at the end of my turn, I again was, of course, excited to see what I will draw. Will I hit a jackpot? And I actually do hit a jackpot here, and I draw the autonomous territory. And not even that, I also draw the classic army, even though that one is maybe not the most important because I expected Rifleman to be taken away. If not, then that also could be a huge draw. So, no, definitely quite a bit lucky. Always the chance that you draw such a strong colony with Columbus. Sometimes it will happen, but no, that will now be quite a strong boost. And at this point, with having Bach, with getting that autonomous territory, I was feeling quite confident in my position. Then
Yeah, I was also quite confident in your position.
yeah, and I mean you didn't have knowledge about autonomous yet, but
Not
yeah.
yet. Yeah, that's true.
But even without it, I think my position looks good. So
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a nice exercise in two-player games that I try or mindset to have is which civilization would you choose at the end of your turn?
yeah,
And that's also how I approach sometimes my decision making. And that's exclusive to two-player, right? In three-player, four-player, that mindset doesn't really help a lot. But in two-player, you can play more, yeah, on that edge.
yeah, no, definitely interesting to think about that, and with that, what with the conclusion, then maybe evaluate how much you need to take some risks or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Then
Exactly.
no, then you seed an event into the deck. Probably last Confucius event is revealed, and you will start by taking the strategy. You will take the Rifleman. I think probably you have to take those cards in hand, just to have the option of maybe going for military counterplay. Maybe you could just focus on doing some peaceful stuff, but I think there is always the chance that you might get something huge going with the military, and so I think it's a fair choice to just take both of those cards. You will develop the strategy also, getting stronger, which I was not happy to see. I was just hoping that maybe we could just stay a little bit longer on one strength each and I could win the Crusades.
Yeah.
But I mean, probably I want to use Columbus at my next turn anyway, so the Crusades, probably I didn't have a lot of hopes winning that anyway now. So you go for the strategy, increasing your population, building a warrior, and then taking the efficient upgrade. You could have also gone for an alchemy upgrade, but you were probably thinking that the resources could still end up being worth it, or what were your thoughts on the choice for the last civil action?
Yeah, I have a lot of science and I don't have excessive resources. And I think then the efficient upgrade is a very good card.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think here maybe I mean I think it's a fair point. I think on the other hand, you have still fine signs, but having that many that you can easily go into an H3 government form can still be beneficial. So I think I might potentially think about upgrading that lab, but it also doesn't feel wrong taking that efficient upgrade. Maybe if you go for Anthony Gaudi now and go for journalisms, it could also be quite strong not having invested those resources yet, and maybe more easily being possible to just build some culture buildings more quickly. So I think it's a fair choice, but here I'm not sure with taking a quick look at it, but I might also decide to go for the lab upgrade at the end. And no, at the next.
Yeah, I think that turn was pretty complicated overall. I wasn't too happy with spending 2 civil actions for riflemen,
No,
especially since I also don't have a cavalryman yet,
no.
and I don't have any tactic in hand. But yeah, I kind of smelled your classical army actually. I don't know.
Okay.
I thought I take some not so nice tactic options away if I spent the 2 selections for riflemen.
No,
Because I mean, taking cavalryman instead would give me even another yellow card.
no,
So that
no,
was definitely not one of my first choices or my first iterations of the turn,
no.
the rifleman for 2. But in the end, I settled for having to take that.
No, to me it feels like it maybe has to be the right choice. Did you consider taking the cavalry man now instead of the efficient upgrade, or were you just fine waiting for the second copy here with me probably not hate drafting it?
Yeah, I think I had to be fine with that because let me look. You don't have cavalryman tech as well, so I don't think you need to gamble. So unless it drops, you will probably take it for 1, and then I will get the second copy.
Yeah,
If it drops now, I can have some unlucky situations, but then at least I have the rifleman
yeah,
and
no,
have some tactic options
yeah,
also with the cans.
yeah.
So
So, and if you don't
I
have a
think I had to leave it here.
no, if you don't have a tactic for those anyway, I think it's a fair call not committing any civil actions here yet.
Yeah. I think one also interesting aspect of the turn was I will just I didn't say it every time, but I think in this time it's a little interesting my decision to cede actually the what's it called, Independence Declaration. I already ceded that, and you didn't have a colony yet,
No,
but you have Columbus in hand, and I do plan to be the strongest, and I think I have to, or at least, I mean, I have the strategy already developed. So
no,
um, the expected value felt good. If you want to get stronger, you have to invest quite a bit more than I already did. So I
yeah.
guess it's a fair bet for me.
Yeah, I definitely think so. It looks like you might have good chances to be the strongest, and if either I get unlucky, which would be good for you, or I have some colony for Columbus, and then I might lose it unless it's revealed very quickly. So I think that should end up. There's a good chance that it will end up being a good seed for you. Alright, then at my turn, I have drawn this very strong autonomous territory. I will use it immediately. I will be able to go for Bach this turn, and I choose to take 4 signs from the autonomous territory because there will be economic progress coming. I felt like food or resources might just be overkill. I could maybe just take 7 culture and could already be worth quite a bit, but here I thought, and I will actually interestingly go for the justice system this turn, and then I felt like having some additional signs should still be quite important, so I took the signs here. I take then the cavalryman in hand. As you said, it would be a gamble not taking it, and I think with having a strong position on my side, I don't have any need to take such a gamble. And so I take those cavalrymen in hand. I will elect Bach to get a bit of culture reduction going. And then I said I will actually take the justice system for 3, which might feel a little bit awkward. Taking it now for 3, there's no really any danger that you would hate draft it. I could just take it for cheaper at the next turn. But the thing is that the additional blue tokens will already help me this turn. I think getting out of corruption without doing too heavy investments into any area. And also, I just have the justice system set up. I'm at 8 civil actions, which felt to me extremely comfortable, and there is still something like Ocean Liner Service, or actually also the Eiffel Tower that is coming down the row, and I felt like maybe taking and finishing a wonder could be quite strong at the next turn, and who knows, if I want to do that, I might actually not have the civil actions to then take the justice system at the next turn, because I might need a lot of them to maybe take and finish that wonder. So even though it feels a bit expensive, it helps me getting out of corruption, and I just have that 8 civil action setup going, and I'm a bit maybe more flexible at the next turn, but taking it for that expensive will come at a cost of maybe taking some potentially interesting yellow cards like reserves or efficient upgrade, but then I would have corruption. So at the end it felt like a fine pick for me. So yeah, I don't know what are your thoughts on that. Does it feel quite weird, or do you see also the arguments?
Totally agree. Especially with the getting out of the corruption. I mean, justice system with autonomous just goes so well together
Yeah,
with the blue tokens. And if you didn't have corruption without the justice system, then I would maybe consider reserves efficient upgrades
yeah,
or
yeah,
something instead. But your economy is so good anyway, and just getting it on the table now feels very good.
yeah, yeah.
I think I would maybe consider taking the opera and just building
Mm-hmm.
two operas,
Mm-hmm.
but then you don't take cavalrymen, and that's a little greedy, I guess. That's probably a little greedy.
Yeah, and while the opera could be strong getting the first copy and being the one who starts the culture production first, here again I thought
Yeah,
that if you go for the opera, I can maybe just build the Eiffel Tower and go for the second copy later on, which
yeah,
felt
yeah,
like a fine outcome to me. So um,
yeah.
I think,
Because yeah, you have so many rocks that you will quickly be saturated anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And also the economic progress is now coming. Again, the justice system with the blue tokens will help me with that as well. And yeah, I think you are right that sometimes in two-player games it can be very relevant who starts the culture production first, and securing the first
Mhm.
copy can still be quite important. But I think here I would be fine with getting the Eiffel Tower.
Mhm. I
Then,
have to say I was, but maybe not this turn, but the turn after that, a bit surprised. Maybe even this turn. I mean, it's been a while. That because of that reason, I think it's quite relevant who starts the culture race and is the one big production ahead. But I totally agree with your perspective here.
yeah. So I draw some more cards. I have some more events to choose with the immigration and the international agreement. Still, I haven't drawn any defense card. You see an event, the Crusades were revealed, which at the end, the seeding that didn't turn out too well for me, giving you a bit of an edge in culture again. Then I think you kind of have to go for Anthony Gaudi here, who can somewhat compete in the culture race. I don't think there's any real alternative here. Going for something military heavy with Catherine, you can still also do something with the military with Anthony Gaudi, but you can just go for the opera this turn and build one, get the culture production earlier, take the frugality, which I think is better here than the reserves, allows you to just increase your population 2 times at the next turn, so that turn feels relatively clean. Of course, you again could have done some other investments like upgrading a lab, but I think just setting up the opera here and at least trying to get a bit of a lead and getting the culture a bit earlier to then maybe be able to compete with Bach somehow is just too important. Or do you see anything that was a real alternative here?
Yeah, frugality, but selective breeding hasn't dropped yet,
No,
so that frugality allows me to populate 2 times. And by now, it would be nice if that alchemy was upgraded, but
that's
it will
true.
have to
Yeah,
wait.
yeah. I forgot for a moment. Of course, you have the efficient upgrade, so it could be interesting. But I think with the selective breeding not having dropped, you are right that the frugality should be worth it. But yeah, you are completely right. Using the efficient upgrade could also be quite a strong option here. Then we are at my turn. I think I don't put any event into the deck. If an Ocean Liner service would have dropped, I might have just taken finished that, even though that of course would leave me a bit behind in the culture race. But with your low food income, I felt like denying the Ocean Liner could still also be quite relevant. But with no Ocean Liner service in the row, I decided to here go for the Eiffel Tower. I could also just start building some operas here, which I think could be a real alternative. But long term, having that Eiffel Tower production running, I think, is just quite strong, because if I just start building some operas, I can build 3 of them very quickly, but then I am also at a limit that I maybe reach relatively quickly. Maybe I get multimedias or something, or somehow into an H3 government form, but I might just build those 3 and then I can't get more. So now if I take the Eiffel Tower, I have that 4 additional culture production and I can build 3 operas on top of that. So I maybe get the culture production going a little bit slower now, but with the hope that I will on long term just have some bigger production. I have that many resources, the economic progress will be coming. I just felt like I need to invest those into something, and so I took the Eiffel Tower here. Will finish it, and will actually, I think I could actually go for 1 upgrade from religion to opera if I would like to this turn already with Bach. I'm not sure if maybe I should do it, because maybe with spending more resources I could also be even better prepared for an economic progress. Hard to do the calculations very quickly how my blue token situation would be. I'm not sure if maybe that's something that I overlooked. Growth for 3 feels a little bit awkward. My idea maybe could be that now I can even build 2 operas at the next turn, which otherwise would not be possible, but also having the civil actions already spent, of course, now I can get the opera for civil action cheaper. On that decision, I'm actually not quite sure. I guess my main reason to not go for that was that I was actually a bit worried about some military potential from you, and with spending another 5 resources, I don't have enough resources left to actually build 2 cavalrymen and reveal an outdated classic army tactic. So I guess that might have been my main reason to not do the commitment of investing those 5 resources, even though I could get lucky and reveal an economic progress. So this urban growth for 3 doesn't feel ideal. The problem is if I take any of the yellow cards in front of the opera, that will be discarded. I could also just take the wave, maybe that would be a bit safer, but also would require an additional civil action to play it, and the urban growth could now allow me to just go for 2 operas at the next turn. So on that decision, I am not certain about how I feel now about it. What is your feeling on that?
I think everything that I think you speak out.
Okay.
That's more or less that. That was a term where I was a little surprised in the when I saw it, but I also during the game quickly came to the realization that the Eiffel Tower makes a lot of sense because, as you said, your 3 operas will be saturated very quickly, and then you have a lot of rocks, and you build it more or less for free. And then with the last thing about Urban Growth for 3, yeah, that's a little unclear maybe, but everything that you said makes a lot of sense. So I think when you evaluate the positions, you are ahead. Not like infinitely, but I would definitely choose your position over mine anytime. And then making turns where you leave yourself flexible and yeah, don't leave any openings. You don't leave any openings with this,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
you mentioned that one opening that is I go in all in military, and then you have already built to Opras, which might be too much.
yeah.
So yeah, I
So
agree.
no, I think that's also a fair point. And then at the end of my turn, I get some more draws in. I have now also a defensive army tactic. I have now 2 tactics in hand that I can use outdated, but I would need to wait for modern infantry to use it fully. And now we will see that the little gamble, or maybe also big gamble, that you took earlier now is paying off very well for you. The historic territory is revealed, and sadly, I actually still don't have any defense card, which I was a bit unhappy about. But I think so far in this game, a lot of things have been going right for me, so was not really complaining, and you are able to win that historic territory, which again gives you a bit of a culture lead. I was now a bit worried. Crusades were revealed, historic territories revealed. maybe you will now develop a bit of a lead. At least the happy faces are at the moment not really that relevant for you, so that's at least maybe one good news for me, but getting that much cult for just a warrior is, I think, just quite a strong deal. Then it's your
Yeah, it
turn.
is.
No,
Yeah.
it's your turn, and maybe one choice that you have to do here is if you actually want to grab the ocean liner service already this turn to make sure that you get a nice population income, or if you are willing to not go for it, and then with the selective breeding still being in there, I feel like maybe it's fine to not go for the commitment here, as there's a good chance you will be able to upgrade some food without the selective breeding being left. Maybe taking the ocean liner here for expensive could be the right choice potentially. Maybe it could still be, it's just such a strong wonder, but also a bit expensive, and I think you will use this turn. First of all, you will take the cavalryman, which gives you some more options. You will now finally upgrade its second lab, taking the patriotism, and then not committing to another opera yet, which of course is telling me a little bit about potential plans of yours. You are not making the commitment, and of the opera instead, the big commitment of 2 cavalrymen, which made me worry a little bit that there might be something happening at the next turn. So uh, I guess you had with the big commitment of the 2 cavalrymen, did you have already a payoff card in hand, or was it just to apply some pressure with the hopes of drawing something?
It was mainly to apply some pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I do have the tactic already.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, important. That's a payoff, if you will, but I didn't have a war yet.
Mm-hmm.
I had an aggression, but I think I wouldn't go for an aggression with 10 to 2 here.
Yeah.
It's just to set up the pressure. I think if I just play the normal, we both just only build culture from now on, I have 0 chance.
No.
And if I also think if I take the ocean liner for 5, I couldn't do this turn.
Yeah.
It was correct not to take it for 5 civil actions. Press without tech. I would like, if I want to build more of those buildings, to build it with architecture, which is also already in a row that you won't take that away. You have a masonry. If you don't forget that you have a masonry, that's also important.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, my mind is always so focused on this architecture. At least in Super Blitz, it happened a lot to me that I took architecture with masonry already developed.
Yeah, but it's an
Yeah,
insanely strong technology, and especially if the game ends up being a culture fest. And yeah, so I think applying some pressure here should be the right choice. As you said, in a completely peaceful game, I might just have too much power, but you can have some hopes here. Maybe I don't have a fitting tactic, and then that could result in you maybe getting some value out of those units.
yeah.
Then at my turn, I will actually choose to go for the ocean liner service here, which I think is, I think I'm happy with the choice, but it's not completely clear cut, but especially with the selective breeding still not being revealed, maybe I can delay your gain of additional population, and at the moment you don't have any free population, so I think it would be important for you, and it would also be quite strong for you to get the ocean liner. You could even just take it and build it. You would then miss out on the journalisms for Gaudi, but it could just be quite strong, and even though I have some fine food income, I think with the economic progress coming, I have enough resources to support it, and it just still will, I think, help me in the long run, even though, of course, I am delaying the operas, but I also felt like I have to be a bit careful about my military here, so I will go for the ocean liner, take the opera and the wave of nationalism, and then with the wave of nationalism I have enough resources to at least build 3 cavalrymen and reveal the tactic, and if I reveal the economic progress I can build even more. I'm actually not able to defend against you here, but as you said at your turn, I felt like I only need 1 H2 defense card. I had now quite a lot of draws. I thought you might just not try an aggression, and I also have the chance of just drawing a defense card now. So of course I was a bit thinking, I have a good position. Do I need to take that risk? But it just felt a bit awkward delaying the Ocean Lion or not taking it and just building units already when I can just build them with maybe the Wave of Nationalism at the next turn. Does it feel like an unreasonable risk for you, or would you maybe go for that risk as well?
No, I would go for that risk any day. I think the only realistic scenario where I try to aggress you here is where I don't have any event to play,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's super unlikely.
yeah. So I also felt like it's unlikely that you will try it. And so I was willing to take that risk here. If now the Ocean Liner service running, you will be maybe the selective breeding will be revealed, but taking it for 3 is also somewhat costly for you, so you might now be locked on a low population for a little bit longer. Will have
Mhm.
lots of
Mhm.
population. I will now fall a little bit behind in culture. You have won that historic territory, so I'm a bit behind, but it's still, I think, after my production, 17 culture, so still a relatively small amount that with my economical power, I felt like I can overcome relatively quickly.
Yeah, yeah. I think I remember also that leaving the Ocean Diner. Also, I was aware that at least it's not that obvious for if it's the best choice for you. I think it is the correct choice, but it's not that obvious in
No,
this game
no,
because you also already have a lot of population and you will get more population out,
no,
and it delays that opera by
no.
1 turn.
Yeah, I think if
Yeah,
we only take into account what the Oceanliner service is doing for myself, it could be better to maybe not take it, but
yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
additional a drafting factor, it probably is at the end the right choice, but also still a thing that you need to think about.
Yeah, totally. And also, it's not like it's a 100% hate draft. It's not that this wonder doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
will still enable you to get your entire yellow bank out towards the end of the game, which is always very strong.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree on that. Then we are back at your turn, and now we will see if you will do something with the strength that you built at the turn before. And there is actually a war with technology happening. You did draw that basically in the last draws?
I do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do it.
yeah. So you go for the navigation. You have the Hussars tactic. You still take the journalism. I think that just has a lot of potential. Architecture has just so much potential. You develop the journalisms already, and then there's the hope that if you steal some science, that you might uh, be able to develop the architecture the next turn, even though at the moment you are just at 5 science at the next turn. You also take the team sports, which you don't need for the happy phases, but you can develop it extremely cheap with Gaudi, and Pierre could end up being an interesting leader. So probably fine to have that one in hand. And yeah, so was what were your thoughts about it war? Was it a clear choice for you? Did you debate about it for a long time? What were your feelings here?
Um, I think it wasn't that clear. There might be some scenarios where you even win it.
No, no,
But in the most scenarios, you just get close, but maybe even again cannot build operas thanks to that.
no,
And maybe in the end, that's the main reason
no,
to do it. Do not let you freely build operas now. So you have to like, yeah, react to this and yeah, hope to get the one science for the architecture at least. Yeah. You could also maybe even choose to not react to that in a big way and just build operas, and then I get a little more science. Yeah,
no. I think it's
something like that.
probably good to just maybe delaying my developments of operas here, and at least again you are probably in a position where you are behind, so maybe just hoping that I don't have any fitting tactic for now and that you will get some good value out of that war is maybe something that you just have to try. And I think while maybe it could also completely backfire, if I don't get any additional resources, which there's a real threat because it's a 50-50 that the economic progress is revealed, but of that event you of course don't have knowledge. But if I don't get
Mhm.
any, then I can build 3 units, so I can't threaten something like 2 fortifications with going for 4 cannons or something.
Mhm.
So I think there's not the danger of losing the war by a really big amount.
Yeah, and I was not willing to give up my entire civilization to go all in for that war, because if I see that correctly, I could play the patriotism and spend something and build
Yeah,
two more,
yeah,
but I think that's not a line that can win the game realistically.
yeah. I think I agree. I mean, it's a hard choice to make. It would require some more thought from my side to be certain about that, but it feels right to me to not start the spending things already, because with my economy, I will soon be able to upgrade to copy the Hussars tactic, and then I might just be well prepared to defend any military push. Alright, so now we have to see how I can react to that war. If I remembered correctly, I now decided to cede to get my 50-50 shot of the economic progress being revealed, and I don't have that many events that I would really like to see, the only one being the Ravages of Time, which hopefully losing the Happy Face of the Stonehenge could still be a bit painful, but losing the Rome Roads or Forbidden City maybe even more for you, so that felt like a fine event for me. And first of all, H3 will start. Oh, actually, I don't even see it. Then I will see that it's one of the following turns. I mean, did I have knowledge about even another of the events? Maybe I didn't like it. I guess I actually don't have any happy face solution apart from the operas. I don't know if I get Bro Sports or Chaplin yet. So there is maybe a scenario where losing the happy face of the Stonehenge could actually be quite painful. Maybe because of that I didn't want to commit. I think I first wanted to commit, but then I felt like I have actually already a fine solution as a response anyway, and maybe I don't necessarily need those resources, and then I just at the end didn't want to commit to potentially losing the happy face of the Stonehenge in a position where it could really hurt, but maybe just gambling on that being revealed could be fine. On the other hand, I think another reason, the things are coming back to me, another reason why I didn't want to see it is that at the end of, after this turn, I'm actually in a position to get the full value out of the economic progress in terms of resources. I think my blue bank will be completely filled after my production, so no, I will get 8 resources, and that at the end was another reason. But my first instinct here was to just go for the seed and get the resources now. Then I can play the Wave of Nationalism. I can build 1 cavalryman, 2 cavalrymen, 3 cavalrymen, reveal the tactic. The third one, yeah, I guess it's still a 6 sign swing between us. And I didn't want to give you too much science with still needing maybe selective breeding and architecture. So of course, I will delay my operas, but actually I can still go for 1 upgrade to opera with the urban growth, so I still get a bit of cultural production going. I will then increase my population normally with the reasoning of the economic progress now giving me additional resources if it is revealed before my next turn. And with the remaining 2 civil actions, I decided to go for one of those science yellows. And here I think I'm not sure in hindsight if taking the breakthrough is actually the correct choice. It's just a more efficient card, of course, but I have that many civil actions that maybe just having the option of getting 1 more science, even if it costs an additional civil action, could end up being worth more. And also leaving it in the row maybe gives you an option of just taking Rev Idea and Democracy, and Democracy then being the next tech that you go for, while the breakthrough you can't play up front. So I think that could have been a small oversight here, even though the breakthrough, of course, still being an efficient pick. But I feel like it could be a small mistake. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I agree. I think the rev idea is better here.
Yeah,
For the reason that you said, it enables going for that democracy a lot more realistically than the breakthrough is, as you said, the better card in a vacuum. But here, yeah, also blitz reviewing your turn. Maybe it's the first turn where I don't entirely agree. I have no information. I mean,
I think the connection is maybe a little bit unstable. Again,
experience in such games, the democracy is the seal in the how do you call it in the grave, the nail in the coffin or something.
yeah,
It seals the deal. Yeah, it's a little. It's now that I did some military pressure, you might argue it's a little greedy to go for it for 3 civil actions.
Yeah,
But I think it enables you the fourth building slot and the three culture, and you might even just go for a revolution for it, and maybe consider taking it for 3.
yeah. So you were for a short time cut away, but I think the most of the
Ah,
things we understood. So yeah, democracy
that's
for
that.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was only for a short moment. But democracy for 3. Yeah, maybe could be an idea, because you're right that early especially it could be quite strong, even though yeah, I'm might not that easily be able to get into it. And I thought, or I was hoping, that you could now go for democracy with revolutionary idea, and I probably should definitely not leave you that revolutionary idea, but um, you could go for those cards, but developing democracy first could come at a cost of not going for selective breeding, not going for the architecture, which also would be somewhat costly. So I agree that's an extremely influential card. Maybe I should have considered it more, because I actually think I don't really consider that at all, taking it for 3 here, which maybe I should have, but I'm not sure if I should really take it here. Um, yeah, but
Yeah, I will also not say it's a very obvious
yeah,
choice,
yeah.
but
But I think some of those two-player special things that you always should have in mind, taking
yeah, in the
democracy.
Super Blitz, I can tell you I would take it 10 out of 10 times
Okay.
in that situation. In the
Yeah,
Super Blitz, it's 10 out of 10 times.
yeah,
But in a game like this where you really have a lot of time to think, then it's another story, yes.
yeah. So despite getting hit by that war, I felt like I still was quite happy about my position, even though I did know some heavy resource investments. But the good thing for me is the economic progress that is coming. Ideally, it will give me now 8 additional resources, and then I again should be able to build some operas quickly. And I thought and was hoping that the damage is not too big for me here, that I can now maybe copy the Hussars tactic if I really need some more strength. But I left you that Rev idea plus democracy, which might end up being or which could be bad, end up being bad for me. Then I will get my
Yeah, I
first.
think for me it's also not that I wasn't that happy also, to be honest, having to take it now. I think even my initial turn was not to take it, but in the
Okay.
end I thought I had to, because I don't have that much science, and if I just go all in on that democracy, then there's no architecture, no cell red on my civilization, and I think that's not an option. So it's a little more of a hate draft with the hope of getting other rev ideas to be able to get that out.
Yeah. No. So
Yeah, yeah.
no.
Maybe you show the turn first before I
I
talk so
will show
much.
the
Yeah.
turn first, and also I have a fine draw. With that one draw, I draw the impact of industry. Getting a seedable impact out of one draw is always a great thing. At the moment, gives me +2 plus the culture of seeding, so I was happy to see that event draw. At your turn, you will now steal the one science, not having gotten a lot of value in terms of the science gain, but still having disrupted me, which was maybe more important. You would then seed, and indeed the economic progress is revealed, which I was happy to see that it ended up giving me basically the double amount of value, when we just take a look at what was gained on food and resources.
Yeah. Also, just a quick interlude. Disrupted your H3 draw. It's also,
Yeah, yeah,
I spent all my H2 military actions and disrupted your H3 draw. It's also a big argument with those end of H2 wars.
that's a very good point. I think yeah, I didn't really think about that in that scenario, but that's in a situation where you used an H2 and the other opponent in H3, that can actually be a real argument. Yeah. Then this turn you have to maybe make a bit of a decision. What do you want to tackle first? Do you want to actually go for democracy first? Do you want to go for architecture? Do you want to go for selective breeding? You do here the decision of going for the architecture, building the journalism. I mean, it gives you additional science and a lot of culture. So it feels right to me. You then take democracy, rev idea, and the selective breeding. And maybe you can still go for the selective breeding at the next turn. Probably you need some additional food income still. Sometimes you can also just skip upgrading those farms, but it feels to me like you just don't have that much that you can delete, so you probably still need to get those upgrades going. Or what were your thoughts on the food upgrades? Did you really consider doing it this turn, or was the journalism turn just too strong for you, or did you even maybe consider just even skipping it or something?
Yeah, probably all of those. And uh, and cannot tell you the exact reason. I think in the end it looks a little too good to go for this architecture journalism. Going for the journalism without the architecture is a lot less efficient, and the celebrate I think is still necessary, as you said. I did consider maybe even gambling leaving that, but I wasn't too happy with that. And
Yeah,
also, I think the last civil action, and maybe if I have reserves free for one civil action, I will consider just taking that instead.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, not too happy with the late celebrate into H3. And maybe it's even wrong, but in the end, I took it.
yeah. I mean, it's at least
The-
only one civil action. That's probably even if you end up not using it, still maybe somewhat fine to at least have the option.
Hmm. Maybe something even I even considered at the beginning of the turn was going a little more military heavy
Mm-hmm.
with the air forces for 3
Mm-hmm.
and leaving the democracy. But I think I felt like it's not enough with the Hussars and not that much food income to gamble on drawing. Like, I basically would need to draw 2 wars over culture, I guess, in the next 3 or 6 cards to make use of that. And in the end, I didn't feel like
Yeah,
you are in such a vulnerable position, also. Yeah.
yeah,
If you get modern infantry, then you are, yeah, in that moment already stronger than me.
yeah. So yeah, I think also with no population income going for that immediately, probably yeah, you would, as you said, I don't would need to miss out on any good tactics and military techs, and I guess I can already copy the Hussars tactic if I want. So yeah, I think that should be fine. Then yeah, also the option of not developing the architecture, building a journalism maybe could be fine, but the thing is, even with doing that, you would still be missing one science to go for the democracy the next turn. I think if you had one more science, that could be a real alternative, but now I think that architecture maybe just being too strong. Then at my turn, I start with seeding the impact of industry, and here I get a bit of a setback because the independence declaration that you seeded in earlier will now be quite costly for me. Losing the autonomous territory, I still have a fine amount of civil military actions afterwards, but still having even more is just always great, and that will be a bit of a setback now. I will
Yeah,
then
that's extremely impactful still. Yeah.
no. I will use the ocean liner service to increase my population, and at this turn I thought your turn didn't really go into a military direction, so now I can finally start building some culture. I just built 2 operas, and I can take another breakthrough. I can take a reserves, and I could have even taken a second copy of reserves, but I here wanted to make sure that I have the professional spots, just making sure that I have the option of fixing my happy faces if I need it. Also, there's peer in the game, there's the internet in the game, so I don't want to be reliant on Hollywood necessarily like this. I have a chance for a big Hollywood and a big internet with Pierre, so that I felt like a very strong pick for me. And then I also took the rockets just to maybe have some more tactic options at some point, especially it's a bit of a gamble to just skip those air forces. But at this point, I was really not too worried about what you could do militarily, and the second copy will be coming. Of course, there's a chance that you could deny it, but I could still get modern infantry or tanks for the hussars, or draw maybe mechanized army for the rockets, have the professional sports. So I felt like the 2 civil action investment into the air forces would at this point be maybe just unnecessary. And yeah, apart from that, just a relatively straightforward build operas, take yellow cards turn, and the professional sports.
Hmm.
Then I draw.
Maybe you
Yeah,
have to consider that revenue for 3.
that's true. Yeah, that maybe instead of, I guess,
Taking the pro spots, I think.
maybe yeah, maybe instead of professional sports and rockets, I could take the revolutionary idea. And then I could hope that you don't deny the professional sports. Yeah, I guess. I mean, you have such a full hand. I hope.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Um,
I wouldn't take the pro spots even, I think.
yeah, I guess you might leave me that. I mean,
Yeah.
the professional sports has quite a big potential with Pierre, so maybe it would
Mm.
still be a
It is, yeah,
consideration to deny it. I think that's
yeah.
just so strong. So I think it's somewhat fair to just make sure to have it, but it's also a good point that your hand is completely full, and I might still have a lot of fine options without the professional sports. So maybe skipping that and taking a revolutionary idea, which could help you now a lot to get the democracy going. So I think that also is an important thing to think about. So I think that could be an interesting alternative here. Um, so I also still uh, think just having the pro for sports for certain could also be fine. But the rev idea I think will be quite helpful for you. So maybe I should have considered it more denying it and maybe just if you take the pro spots, at least you have maybe even more hand space issues. So maybe I should have just let it be in the row for you. Then I draw the impact of progress and the war. And there's another colony coming. You went for the navigation for the war, got more strength for that, but now you also had
Mm.
have a colony, which you can again win for one warrior. At that point, I thought, that might now add up. Now already the third colony that you were able to just win for a warrior. That is no, something that I was worried about adding up, but at least you still have low population, so that might make it a bit more difficult for you to spend your resource efficiently. I think probably you have to get the farm upgrades going now, so that you can still get a bit more population out. You take the revolutionary idea, which maybe I should have taken away from you. You make space in your hand with playing the rev idea. And then you actually interestingly take the military theory. So there would have been a copy of reserves, maybe air forces. Maybe you could have gone for even a third farm upgrade potentially. Um, so that was
Mm.
mainly, was it a hate draft? Were you worried at this point that I could pressure you militarily, or what were your thoughts about that?
I guess that's that. Without a military theory, you have no realistic offensive options,
Hmm.
and I think that's the reason.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it could allow
Not that
you.
you,
No, it
yeah,
could allow you to play more greedily without the big risk that I might punish you if I have that card in hand. You maybe all the times have to play more carefully. So even
yeah,
if
yeah. It makes a huge difference in calculating the potential war
no,
if you have a military theory in hand. But yeah, I'm not certain if that's the right call. To be honest, in hindsight, maybe taking reserves is better, especially with this multimedia down the row. If it wasn't, then you would, with the multimedia coming, you have something better to do. So yeah,
yeah,
not
maybe
not that certain.
that's true that the multimedia would be or is a strong option for me here, and maybe of course you can gamble in a lot of different directions. Maybe it could be fine, or you could say that you have to take the gamble here that I might not punish you militarily, but on the other hand, it can still make life a bit easier for you. So I was a bit surprised to see that, but I also think it definitely makes your potential greedy blaze of the future more reliable.
Mm.
And apart
I
with
didn't. I was already a little greedy with not taking cannons, and you have
mhm.
rockets in hand now. So if
Yeah,
you have the mechanized army now in hand, I think that's like the reason. If you have a good tactic now, then it's a lot harder for you to punish me without the military theory.
yeah, that's true. That could also just in some situations be maybe even game over if I have the right cards
Mm.
already. No, so I think the rest of the turn looked very naturally. I think the last civil action was the mostly interesting thing. And the next turn you can go for the democracy if you want. now it's the turn a little bit later. Now I have the professional sports in hand. Now I was willing to cede the ravages of time. If I won't have any happy face issues, then that might just give me a bit of additional culture reduction, even when I lose the Stonehenge. While for you it doesn't change your culture reduction, you will just lose a yellow and a blue token. The arms industry is revealed, giving both of us 4 additional resources. And as you said during your turn, the multimedia looks like a strong option for me, and I have now again even some additional resources thanks to the arms industry. So I will just take the multimedia, I will build one, I take a copy of reserves. I'm not sure how much you were aware of that, or if you even thought about some options in that direction, but I also was still a bit worried of your military potential here, because you could still maybe go for some distraction, build some more armies. There's a Manhattan project coming down the road, so here I didn't want to go for a big commitment or an even bigger commitment resource-wise, and just I was willing to build it one multimedia, but then I really wanted to make sure to have those reserves available, and also took the urban growth because I felt like there are some chances where you maybe could punish me a bit if I just at some point leave me a bit low with resources. So I really wanted to make sure having a lot of them saved up. I also wanted to make sure that the internet is not on the discard spot at your turn, so that both internet and Hollywood will remain viable options for me. And yeah, but at the end, I think it's a solid turn, just building a multimedia, getting 2 yellow cards with the reserves and the urban growth, and so yeah, just feels very solid for me. I am now prepared for either Chaplin or Pierre, both Hollywood and internet. So I was hoping that now that I have that much culture reduction, that I will actually overtake you in culture this turn, that I have that much flexibility, and hopefully also am well prepared for the military, that I now can just close the game and get the win out of my position.
Yeah, totally agree. If we look at the culture situation, then we already see that you are already ahead in total culture, but then if we compare incomes, it's more like if it's more something like 3 turns, you are already like 30 or 40 culture ahead,
Yeah,
more or less. So you don't need to like be greedy and play reserves to build another thing.
yeah,
So taking yellow cards in such a situation is always the right call, I think.
yeah. Right, at the end of my turn, I draw 2 more impacts. Impact of variety and government, which are maybe seedable, but government could also backfire if you get if you get a democracy now. You seed an impact into the deck now. And the event revealed is another colony, which again you are able to win. At least this time you are out of warriors. So at this point, it's late in the game. I was somewhat fine with seeing you winning that for Cavalryman, but I also think it's still fine to bid on that. So um,
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't for free, I would say,
yeah.
but still fine with getting it. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with having that many resources saved up at the moment, and your food production that you built up was quite
Mm.
late. So I think it's still a good deal for you, but not as that good that I was very worried about that colony now changing the whole situation. Um, then you rebuild
Mhm.
with going for that cavalryman. You played a revolutionary deal. You have now exactly enough science to go for the democracy. Here we can see if I maybe would have taken some revolutionary ideas earlier on, either the one from H2 or H3, I maybe could have prevented you from going for the democracy already this turn. So that maybe were some misplays in the turns earlier. I think especially the H2 rev idea I definitely should have taken. You then build another opera, even another opera. You take the patriotism and the endowment for the arts. So now you are definitely catching up a bit on culture reduction again. Of course, I can also increase my culture reduction even more, but you have the endowment, and here you could have had a chance to maybe grab the internet, but you made the decision to leave yourself open for the Hollywood. So yeah, what were your thoughts on this turn? I think a lot of things to discuss potentially.
Yeah, that turn was too difficult for me. uh, there were many options. I was thinking a lot about the possible impact that you have there and what impact you might want to play. I mean, you didn't have many options when you seeded that,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's still worth to think about it. And I thought it could be very well an impact of culture. And I thought a lot about just winning that impact of culture, not rebuilding that cavalryman.
yeah,
And then there would also be impact of harmony, possibly, which would then punish me for not building a cavalryman.
yeah,
And the Hollywood thing or internet thing is, I think if I take the internet here, I lose definitely because you get the Hollywood for free. Or maybe there's a chance that I just bid the internet and then still can take the Hollywood. But that gamble makes no sense, I think, because if I win the Hollywood gamble, I do have a good chance. I'm not entirely certain. Maybe that would also be an option, even to take the internet, try to build it. But that's a lot of civil actions, a lot of resources. I don't have infinite resources.
yeah, yeah,
So I think it's not a realistic option.
yeah. I think so,
Um,
especially if you want to use the engineering genius for the full resources on the internet, and it again takes more civil actions and it gets more
mm,
unrealistic to maybe pull all of that off. And if you don't use the engineering genius properly, you're again even shorter on resources to go for both wonders.
and then in the end, I guess I needed to be a bit resource efficient. I'm not entirely certain why I didn't go for that greedy, let's win impact of culture play. But it just didn't feel right in that moment. I think it's a pretty hard commitment that can be punished, maybe. And I don't have any offensive. Maybe if you go very greedy, you can also get punished, even still. So,
No, no, and
um,
no,
but it's more likely that you punish me, maybe, with just getting military, the modern infantry and air forces. You will have a lot of strength in 2 turns,
no.
I think.
No, so I think it's true that from your perspective, there are definitely a lot of scenarios how I could get still quite threatening for the military. From my perspective, you taking the patriotism made me a little bit worried because with that additional military action and the resource, I guess the resource you would have anyway, but thanks to the additional military action, you can declare war and go for 4 more cavalrymen, and that was something I think that influenced my next turn. So I think that
Mhm.
patriotism not only as a defensive tool, but maybe also letting me think a little bit more about my defense could be a good pick here. And no, I definitely agree with
Yeah, it
you.
makes it more complicated for you also,
No,
yeah. And I also have a war in hand. It's as I said, depending on what you do, if you are very greedy, maybe I can even punish you. Yeah.
no, no. So and yeah, I think Internet plus Hollywood maybe somehow possible, but also maybe not that realistic. So, and committing to the internet and giving me the Hollywood, I agree that that would, yeah, probably just result in me winning the game. So now it's my turn, and this turn I will actually get a little bit stronger, and I decide to seed the refugees into the deck here, hoping that maybe it could be revealed at your turn. And with the choice for my turn, I at the end ended up taking the military build-up. I was hoping that maybe you don't have the strongest interest in getting a lot of strength. Now that I leave myself prepared to defend myself, and so I was hoping that I can just get a bit of a culture swing with putting those refugees in there, especially with the impacts that I have not being that uh, great for me at the moment. And the event that was seeded by me was the impact of industry, which gives me a small bonus against you. And yeah, this turn I'm not certain about. It's also same as your turn. I think quite complicated, lots of options. I need to consider that you have the option to go for those 4 cavalrymen. I need to consider what choice do I do with Hollywood and internet. Do I commit to the internet now? That takes a bit of civil actions. And what investments do I do? Do I just build a multimedia? Do I um, do not the most investments at the end? I went with a turn of first of all building the professional sports. Now that I have seeded the um, refugees, I think I of course need to get stronger. The arena will give me the happy faces, maybe nice for some impacts, and also I was still thinking that Pierre, I might have a chance to get him potentially, and then I could after, I guess I also build a multimedia. I think here, yeah, I mean, a multimedia gives me the additional value immediately. But with that investment of the multimedia, I think in order to be safe, I now need to take the military build-up, which I will also do. However, with my position still being quite strong, I will have enhanced my culture lead even more at the end of this turn, even if I don't build a multimedia. I feel like maybe I should just maybe not build a multimedia, or maybe not build a professional spot, but maybe just not build a multimedia, not commit to that, and then just take the internet here, which especially if I get Pierre, I can also make very big. So even if I just give you the Hollywood, I think that could just result in me still gaining a quite strong amount of culture. And now with building the multimedia, I think if I now take the internet, I might very well be a bit too greedy and might get punished. Maybe you wouldn't be willing to go for all of that sacrifice, but I think that could be too greedy. But if I just, instead of building the multimedia, just increase my population normally, which I think also would have got me out of corruption, I can just take the internet. Here I did the choice of taking the engineering genius in the military build-up. I still think it's also somewhat reasonable because the Hollywood is not the only wonder left. There's also still the United
Yeah,
Nations, and now that I
yeah.
have the professional sports, I can also build a religion, get that one for 20 points. I have some chances of maybe drawing some more good impact, so I leave myself open for the Hollywood, but also have a backup plan in case that goes wrong. But still, the internet, I think, would be will most likely end up being stronger than the United Nations, so that would be an argument for that. Um, but at least I leave the contest for the Hollywood open. The problem about the United Nations plan could be that at the next turn, ideally, I maybe would have a chance to get Pierre, but taking both Pierre and United Nations could end up being to civil action heavy, and then taking United Nations at the last turn might work. But if you have a chance to get the Hollywood already at the next turn, and I think in this situation I also have to specifically think about scenarios how I might lose the game. If you take the Hollywood, then you, I think, could set yourself up in a way where you so that you can just finish the Hollywood in your last turn and deny me the United Nations. So that is another problematic that comes with not just taking the internet here, that there is a chance that you could go for such wonder denial, and if I grab it already at the next turn, then I have to invest most of my civil actions into taking UN. So I feel like maybe I could have gone for the internet here, but it's an extremely complicated turn or decision, and it's during the game I just felt like with the United Nations as a backup wonder that it's also still very fine and might still also just be good enough to win me the game, even if you get the Hollywood. I at the end was willing to just not go for the internet, but yeah, a very hard choice. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's too hard for me. You made choice. I think I agree. I don't know. I mean, you already discussed it in detail. I don't think I have much to add. Yeah, yeah, not really. I can't add anything to that.
No. No, I feel like I should have taken the internet here at least. I get now the multimedia production that I can support now with getting the military build-up, so I also get more cultural production now, plus hopefully the United Nations, but those could be denied. So I think taking the internet may be the safer play, but at least I have now also the chance to just take the Hollywood, and maybe could force you to take it for expensive. So let's
Yeah,
see.
it's maybe not so easy to say that you win safely if you take the internet. That's what it comes down to,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because your turn did many other things too.
yeah, yeah,
And I can't really evaluate that. If you take the internet now at that position, if you safely win, I might not even have to spend all my civil actions, depending on how far your internet is then ahead already
yeah,
developed, also with the civilization behind it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's too many ifs. I don't know.
It's hard.
But
I definitely agree that taking the
if
internet is
is
not
do
a.
you win if you take the internet?
I wouldn't say it's a clear win. but
Yeah.
maybe some very good chances. But I think also now my position still looks quite strong with the chance of maybe getting United Nations, and just also there are some impacts that I could potentially
United
store
Nations
well
can
in.
also be a 30-point wonder.
That's definitely true. Now,
Yeah.
then
So
we are at your turn, and we see that indeed the Hollywood drops and also the United Nations, so both of the wonders coming out of the deck. And yeah, I guess you need to take that. I don't. Or were there any other considerations? I think you just need to take it.
I have to take it, yeah.
And
Also, maybe quite good timing for the Chaplain. I think the only Hollywood leader in the game.
yeah,
Yeah, the only leader that is good with Hollywood. So that's nice. I can just take him.
yeah. You take him, you get out of corruption by increasing your population, you use the engineering genius before you lose it to the end of the age, and what will be your last civil action? You increase your culture reduction even more. You keep Anthony Gaudi for one additional culture reduction, but I guess you have enough civil actions anyway, so that you can just take that one additional culture here. And
Yeah, I hope so too.
yeah, and then there's maybe the one question if building the opera is too greedy, but I also don't really see that with my low military action count. There's of course a fundamentalism that could still drop, but I don't think I have a big war potential, and losing a small war might actually be acceptable for you. So um, I think,
I was afraid of that, but that's also, yeah. I I think your war potential wasn't that obvious, at least.
no,
And I think I still also had to be a bit greedy, even with the Hollywood win.
no, no,
It's I feel like I'm still somewhat behind here.
no. No, so I think that's true, and I think the turn of just looks quite clean. I think that looks a bit more straightforward, with of course still having to do some calculations and risk evaluations, but that feels like the right choice for me. For my turn, on the other hand, it was again very complicated, and I think for this one I actually did a lot of calculations that sadly now I have already forgotten again, but I think I maybe can remember at least some of the things. Because there's of course this United Nations that I need to take now, or I won't be able to get it, but there's an alternative that I could do instead of going for that. And during my last draw step, I have actually drawn a hybrid war. And with that hybrid war, I actually can go for a bit of a threatening amount of military. There are actually a lot of different ways on how I could set up a bit of military. I could go for hybrid war, build two modern infantries. I could go, I think, for an air force or something, but at the end, if I remembered correctly, the best choice, if I didn't miss out on anything, was to go for the fundamentalism, develop it, build a cavalryman, copy the hussars tactic, and also build a professional sports. I think that was the turn, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but I would be able to win this war. But you, on the other hand, could finish the Hollywood, and you still have, thanks to the patriotism, enough resources to build another army. You can develop the military theory, and then you don't lose too much culture. And I calculated how much culture each option is worth it, and it's of course very hard to tell because you have also to consider a lot of impacts and stuff. At the end, I felt like the United Nations is the better pick, and especially with the chance of me also maybe drawing some more impacts and being able to seed one and evaluate one with the United Nations. That felt better to me, but I was a bit unhappy about the United Nations being also revealed immediately after the Hollywood, because if that United Nations would just be one step to the right, then I could have gone for the war turn with actually still having the option to finish the United Nations at the next turn. You could take it away, but if you finish the Hollywood and defend, then your civil actions could actually get a bit short, also with playing endowment, electing chaplain. So I think with the war, you can't easily deny the United Nations. And so I was a bit unhappy that it sadly is now at that spot, because if it would be a bit farther down the row, I could have gone for the war turn and then still finished United Nations But like this, I had to make a choice, and at the end, I went for the peaceful choice. And that means I seed the impact of variety into the deck. The refugees are revealed, so that is some good news here with uh, gaining a 6 culture swing against you, and also some even more population, even though I don't really need the population anyway, but still a nice culture swing. One reason why I went for the Hollywood option, the United Nations option, is also that I get some additional draws now that I wouldn't have gotten with the fundamentalism, so now I could just get some strong impact draws. I could make it that I win impact of culture when I go for Pierre. At the next turn, I could make it that I win impact of science, impact of strength. I very likely would be able to make those impacts work. So there are some strong ones that I could draw, and just missing out on every draw didn't feel too good for me. So I go for the United Nations. That leaves me only with 2 remaining civil actions, and I will just use those to build a multimedia, get some more culture reduction going. Of course, that also I had to calculate into my or take into account my calculations. So I increase my culture reduction even more this turn, and at the next turn I can finish the United Nations, and with the reserves I have enough resources to build a religion, bring the United Nations up to 20 points, improve my impact of variety. So for the next turn the most things were relatively clear, and then I have to see if I maybe go for Pierre, maybe go for satellites, for variety, or do some other stuff. But that at the end was my plan, but that turn was quite complicated, and I calculated a lot if maybe going for that hybrid draw could be the right choice.
Yeah, your calculations will be more exact than my gut feeling now. My gut feeling says that war would have maybe been more, at least psychologically damaging to me.
Yeah, the moment you see
But
it, it's probably
you would have
you.
calculated it more precisely.
Yeah, I mean the swing of the war I think was just not really that big at the end. I also think I calculated it in that you now can't build an additional journalism and finish the Hollywood, so you will lose some points when you build that army, but calculation wise it was actually I think very similar. And then I think one of the reasons why I preferred United Nations play at the end was the additional draws. And from the additional
Yeah, that makes a
draws,
lot of sense.
no,
You win a lot of impacts with your civilization.
no. And I at least draw 1 impact, sadly not one of the big ones, but a seedable one, the impact of wonders, but the impact of government is probably not good enough to evaluate it, so I can play that impact, but I won't have one to evaluate. Then H4 starts, it's your last turn. I imagine that it's relatively straightforward. So let's maybe take a look. You go for Chaplain, that's a must. I think building a journalism and finishing the Hollywood is a must. Playing Endowment is a must. And then you have 4 civil actions left. You can develop the military theory, play patriotism. I guess that's now something that could at least be debated, but that additional unit that you will now be building is just good for a bunch of impacts, and I think makes you also stronger. Unluckily for you, the refugees are already out. That was a nice sequence for me, that if now the refugees would have stayed in the deck, I think things could have been a bit awkward for
Also
me now.
50-50, yeah?
Yeah, no. So that was quite good for me. And then you take the modern infantry. So I think apart from that lab destroying, just a very straightforward turn. Or do you remember any big thoughts about the turn that you
No.
had?
Last turns are always a little like a relief. H3 is in such games very often very complicated, and last turn is very rarely complicated. Although I just recently lost a game very sluggishly on the I played very bad last turn
No, yeah,
because I thought I lost anyway. Yeah, but in most cases, last turn is simpler than
yeah,
the previous
yeah. I
turns a
think
lot.
it's more straightforward. Even though if you want to, sometimes you can still dive very deep in impact
That's true.
predictions. But
Yeah.
the main things that you need to do are often relatively straightforward.
Yeah, then you go into this deep dive, and then you find out that doing one thing versus the other is like one culture difference or something, and then it's like okay.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, in some cases, it makes a bigger difference, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's true that it's often just a very small difference, but I always have that I still want to feel right about my decision, and then I
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
sit a little bit longer. Then it's maybe really worth it. But maybe a 1 out of 20 games I will win because of that one culture. So yeah,
yeah, that's true. I mean, if you want to be at the top, then that's the thing that you have to do, right?
no, no.
I guess I sometimes I do that when I'm in the mood, but often enough I would say it's good enough and move on. And then it does feel bad. I did lose some games like that,
No,
but in the end, it's not like we earn money with this
that's
or
definite.
something.
That's definitely true. I think it's a very good point, and also something that I try to adapt for myself. Just sometimes you're on the mood to try solving such a puzzle, and I can go for that. But if I had a stressful day, and then there's no need stressing me and just
Yeah.
forcing to figure that one out and just go for the gut feeling turn. So I think that's a good.
That's that's something you mentioned. That's the thing I'm very grateful in this game because the gut feeling things are very often correct. And it's the only thing I'm somewhat good in this game. If it was a very precise calculation game all the time, then I would not be any good in this game.
Yeah, I think it's true that you can get very far just by playing with gut feeling. Of course, some basic calculations you always need to do, but some
Yeah,
very
true.
big ones
Yeah,
are not really necessary, I think, to perform on a high level. Maybe when you can, of course, get some percentages on top, but you can still play the Grandmaster Division and play a lot with gut feeling.
yeah.
All right, then it's my last turn. I see the impact of wonders, which will give me a small benefit. I also already know what event is on top, the Riches of Time, which gives me a bit of additional culture production. I will build a religion. I will finish the United Nations. I can't evaluate an event. And then for the last 3 civil actions, I think there are some options, and I need to think now a bit about impacts. I thought about if maybe you could have pushed impact of culture potentially, because if I think that could be a possibility, I kind of would need to take Pierre for the 2 additional culture now. And I took a look back actually at the situation again when you played the impacts, and it just felt highly unlikely. And I mean, you were in a position where maybe you needed to take some risks, but it still felt highly unlikely that you would have seeded it in those situations when those events were played. And with that, I made a call to go for something different. The satellites for variety could be a choice, but I have knowledge about progress, so it also just would be 2 cultures, same as Pierre. But at the end, I went also with an option which maybe I should just go for Pierre just for the chance that culture's in there. I will now go for the rockets, and that gives me uh, I can play the military build up. Building the rocket will give me 2 save points for the impact of variety, and I then also
Mm.
get stronger, I think, thanks to the rocket, meaning that I now win impact of strength, also an impact which I thought is highly unlikely to be in there. But I mean, at least you got stronger, so maybe there are some signs that it could be in there. And the thing is, with the rocket, in addition of the impact of strength, there's also the impact of competition, which also is not likely, but it's at least 2 impacts that I cover with that. And impact of strength, maybe both impact of strength and culture felt unlikely, but it just maybe a bit more likely. But yeah, so that was at the end the choice, but it's maybe one of those decisions where you can think a lot about, but it just maybe also depends on what risk you were willing to take, and maybe it doesn't matter at the end because none of those impacts are in any way, but that at the end was my choice. And when we then take a look at the culture before the final impacts, we can actually see that it's extremely close. Despite not having had the Hollywood and also not the internet, I'm still 1 culture in the lead. And we both have 2 impacts in there. I have 2 only slightly better ones. So now, yeah, it will be very exciting. I think, I would say, just take a look at those final impacts. And first of all, we have the impact of balance. That's one of yours. And I was happy to see it because it's a neutral one, so that is what I need in order to stay ahead with my only slightly good impacts. Then, however, there is the impact of colonies, which is quite a strong one for you. Sadly, I lost my autonomous territory earlier on, and you won those colonies, so that's a strong impact now. And now I need to catch up 11 points with 2 impacts. The first one being the impact of wonders, which gives me +2, so I still need 9 points to catch up. And I have the impact of variety, which I made relatively strong, but at the end not strong enough, and I am still 7 points behind you. So a very close finish, and actually at the end you were the one winning that game, which for a lot of parts of the game I wouldn't really have seen coming, because I was quite confident about my position. So how were your feelings about the end?
Yeah, I was in the impression of losing until the last impact reveal because you had so many impacts that were good for you that I think you were very unlucky in this game. I mean, talking about lucks a little,
It's
given, I don't know, a certain moment in time, then towards the end you were very
Yeah,
unlucky.
I would say we can probably say in the early game with the event order, and of course also drawing autonomous with Columbus, there were some very lucky
Yeah,
moments for me, which of course also played a
yeah,
part in me even having the better position. But then
yeah.
later I maybe had some unlucky moments, United Nations sadly being on that bad spot, and maybe not
Yeah, the Hollywood 50-50 I won. If you
no,
win that, you win the game in that moment.
no. So
Um, Just regarding the impacts. I mean, yeah, okay, refugees was then again maybe just a
was in my
50-50.
favor,
But
yeah.
just regarding the impacts, I think your expected value in impacts was a lot higher than you scored here, and mainly that.
No.
If we
So
just look at that, that's very unlucky.
no. So
Um,
but quite an exciting ending. I would be interested to see how the game would play out if I take the internet, but it's sadly
True.
impossible to
Yeah.
say in hindsight.
Mm,
But I feel like maybe the additional points, especially with the United Nations. I mean, during the time of the internet decision, I didn't have the hybrid war, so that wasn't really like a plan of declaring the war and taking the United Nations. So that was not something that I could
mm,
calculate for, and then get unlucky with the United Nations being on that sixth spot. But yeah, maybe the internet would have been enough, but hard to say.
it's hard to say. Probably, yeah, but it's still hard to say.
No.
Last turn was very interesting, actually, in hindsight at least. I had the impact of culture and impact of strength in hand. I didn't
Oh,
see it either because I thought you will win both,
and at the
actually. But
yeah,
you went for the play where you only went strength.
no,
So in hindsight, I could have seeded culture if I was like 3 steps further.
yeah, yeah. That's
And maybe even I should have because there were so many impacts I think that win you the game. But yeah, in
no.
the end, uh, yeah, I tend to not overthink those last turns and go for with a gut feeling decision and didn't see it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it could have easily backfired if I just go for Pierre,
Yeah.
which I think you definitely have to consider. So I think you would need to be a bit more desperate. I think at this point you still maybe thought that
Mm,
you would lose the game, but I think you were not desperate enough in the situation that you need to go for that. But who knows?
correct.
All right.
Yeah, okay. But that game was very interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Very close and some back and forth. It's always nice when both sides have something going for them. I had a lot of things going for me with the colonies and then even the impact of colony in the end. And that's a lot of things also going for you, your civilization. If I only see the civilizations, I would probably maybe still choose yours. I don't know.
No,
It's
no.
hard to say, actually. Democracy is an argument, and 4+2 journalisms, but
No.
you have multimedia, so yeah.
It's the end. We both have really lots of culture buildings. So at the end, it was somewhat a bit of a culture fest, but of course with that war technology in between. So and some, but I think that's often the case in two-player games. It's a culture fest, but there's always some calculations involved and some resource that you need to keep just in order to
Yeah,
not get punished. So even when it looks like it was completely peaceful, the players still needed to have war very much in mind, most of the times at least.
yeah. There are some games where that doesn't happen, but yeah, maybe that's more Super Blitz in such a long term. I think if I didn't beat some hussars at that H2 turn before H3, then the game is just one for you.
No,
And there needed to be some military from pressure from my side at that
no,
moment.
no.
And then that pressure lingers in H3 on both sides, right? So I was always afraid of your potential
No.
military. That was an interesting game in that regard also.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. So I think quite an interesting one to cover. So thanks a lot that you were able to join me on this one. I think yeah, was quite a nice discussion, and I hope the viewers could also maybe take some special two-player knowledge out of that video.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was yeah, a lot of fun as I imagined.
Yeah, yeah. And also, for those who don't know that yet, you of course also have your own YouTube channel and a link to that is in the description of the video. Do you have any plans on uploading some videos? Or I think it's a bit more spontaneous from your side. How are your plans on that?
Yeah, it's a bit more spontaneous. I recently uploaded with for the Quick and Dirty tournament,
Hmm.
and I probably will cover those games at least. Maybe I will cover one or two games. I think there was one very interesting game from the international season. Maybe I will still cover that.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Then I would say we can conclude the video. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for being a part of that. And yeah, for the viewers, of course, if you, of course, we are interested in hearing your opinion on some moves. I think there were interesting decisions during the game. So let us know what you think about certain aspects of that game. And yeah, then thanks a lot for watching you all, and then see you in the next video.
Yeah. See you. Thank you.